So this is an important lesson in da'wah for all of us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us all the tawfiq to follow the beautiful example of Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu an. Last thing I want to mention is that, we have, inshallah, we're expecting that tomorrow will be Eid. Now, when it comes to Eid, and I just want to I don't want to engage in a debate, but I want to educate everyone that classically, historically, there have been multiple opinions, right? Which is that, do you have to see the moon with your own eyes in your own locality? Or when the advent of, now up until phone and fax and stuff came around, that was the only option you had. You would look up, you see the moon, somebody in town sees the moon, you do Eid. You can only share it with people that you can travel within the same night, okay? So if somebody sees it in San Antonio and they get on their horse and they get into Austin, I don't know how long it would take them, but basically the amount of time it would take for them to arrive to tell you that we have seen the moon over there, that's basically the only people that you can share the moon with, right? Other than that, everybody else has to see their own moon. So then came the advent of the, mass communication, phone, TV, internet, radio, and these type of things. Now, somebody sees the moon in New York City, and we know it the same second. Sometimes nowadays, we're able to maybe see it live, right? Oh, they're looking at the moon over there. Now, forget about New York City. Talk about Indonesia. Talk about, Jordan. Talk about any country in the world. Instantaneously, you know about it. So then a lot of the scholars, they basically said, okay, some of them, they stuck to the old way, which is that we have to see our own moon because that's what the Prophet did. Others said that, look, yes, we agree that we have to see our own moon, but now, because of the advent of modern communication, we have all now become a global village. It's as if we are literally living down the street from the guy in Japan because we know exactly what he's seeing in a second. So now, the new opinion came, which is international sighting, which is that anywhere in the world you see the moon, you just follow and you basically do Ramadan and you do Eid, regardless of where it's been seen, because now you know that it's been seen. So then came about the Muslim communities. Up until this time, you could say that the Muslims were living in Muslim countries for the most part, right? So there's no problem there in Egypt, in Pakistan, in Saudi, in Jordan, because there is a leadership. And whenever they say tomorrow is Ramadan, you say tomorrow is Ramadan. When they say tomorrow is Eid, tomorrow's Eid, end of discussion. Nobody needs to have any disagreements about that because that's the way it's going to be because it's all government controlled. But now we come to America. And here, every single person is basically a sultan, a king for himself, right? Every single masjid is independent, and they don't have to listen to or obey anyone else. Then on top of that, we started to run into the problem of, we're now living as a Muslim minority among non-Muslims. So now, you have things like, Round Rock City says that, hey, we would like to declare the day of Eid as an official holiday, and we'd like you to let us know when Eid is going to be. So we say, okay, we'll let you know the night before. They're like, wait, what? You guys don't know when Eid is going to be? So that became a very tricky situation. Now, you might say that, okay, in Round Rock, it's not a big deal, right? But in a city like New York, in a city like Philadelphia, in a city like Chicago, Muslims are in every part of the society, right? They are everywhere. So for them, it's really important because if all the Muslims call out on a day, it's going to be a significant part of their workforce that has called out, right? So they need to think about these major holidays and they need to plan that, okay, let's just give them a day off so we can plan everything accordingly. It's going to be a day off. So then a modern ijtihad came up among the scholars and they said, look, now we have modern technology, okay? If I ask you right now, if I say, okay, brother, can you tell me what is going to be the time of sunset the day after tomorrow? What are you going to do? You're going to say, wait, let me just check my phone. 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, 20 seconds, you're going to say, this is the time you're going to be. You're not going to say, hold on until the sun sets the day, and I will let you know the sun has set right now, right? Because we have, every single one of us, we now rely. Nobody looks at the sun anymore. You will rely on somebody having calculated the times, which are pretty accurate, and we are so precise now that, in space there is debris, right? Some satellite crashed into something else and they broke into like 1 million pieces. Now there are other functioning satellites. Our technology is so good that we're actually able to track the distance and the trajectory of those small pieces. And we are able to move satellites in and out of position in order to avoid being hit by a major debris, right? This is small things. Then about the position of the sun and the moon and the rotation and all of those type of things, we have come a long way and we are able to predict very precisely. So some scholars and more organizations and scholars are on getting on to this opinion every year as it passes, that look, you know what? We can rely on calculations. Okay, we know that on such and such day, the moon should be visible if the sky in your area is clear. Okay, the only thing that's going to prevent you from seeing the moon is going to be cloudiness. But the moon is there, and that means that if you just drive 20 minutes north where it's not cloudy, you would see the moon there. And for the most part, the calculations are, we have not, I don't remember of any case where the calculations were inaccurate. There are times where an announcement by a country turns out to be disproven later on. Okay, so now the scholar said that, look, if the calculations say that the moon is impossible to see, and somebody says that I have seen it, we have to disregard that witness. Okay, because we can see the reality, right? We know how accurate these are. It is possible. It is more likely that this witness could have seen something. Maybe he was just looking at my head and he thought it was the moon, right? But it's really difficult for him it's difficult for the calculations to be wrong because it's not just one person, but it's a very sophisticated calculation method. So the Fiqh Council of North America is perhaps the leader in this, and they gave a fatwa and they said, from here on, we're not going to wait until the last minute to figure out when the moon is going to be. We're going to basically look at the calculations. And when the calculations say that the moon is visible, okay? When the moon is visible, then we're going to automatically consider that to be that the moon has been seen. Okay? And we're going to follow that in the case of Eid al-Fitr and Ramadan. But not in the case of Hajj, in Eid al-Adha. Reason why? Because they said that Hajj only takes place in one place in the world. Okay? So in the case of Hajj, we simply follow that calendar. We say, okay, the day after Hajj is going to be Eid al-Adha. But in the case of Ramadan and Shawwal and the rest of the year, we can rely on calculations. So again, there are many people who agree with this. There are many people who disagree with this. And everybody has the right to their opinion. As long as you're a scholar, you're a reputable scholar, there's no problem in that. People can follow any opinion that they like or any scholar that you feel comfortable with. Last year, the Austin Masajid came together, for the most part, with a few exceptions, came together and they said, look, you know what? We are now developing really big as a community, and we are dealing with cities and school districts and whatnot, and we need to basically be able to predict our calendar in advance. So almost all of the masajid, I think 7 masajid, signed on to the agreement that from here on we're going to follow astronomical calculations, which is the calendar of Fiqh Council of North America. Okay? So it's not like, some local imam has sat down and says, okay, we're going to just do Eid because I don't want to go out and look at the moon. But major Fiqh Council has come up with this, and they have put out a calendar for the next 10 years. And they keep, updating it for every time that comes. So basically, the Austin Masajid agreed that we're going to now follow this calendar. So inshallah, the moon sighting today, the calculations say that it is not going to be visible in the Middle East. But it is going to be visible in North America if the conditions are perfect. Okay, and the conditions have to be, they're not just about cloudiness, but there's something else, which is pollution. Okay, in a lot of cities where there's a lot of pollution, even though it's not cloudy and you can see the blue sky, but there's a thin layer of haze that's there which actually may prevent you. And a brother was telling me, he says that he goes to Bangladesh and he says, I cannot see as many stars as I used to see when I was young, because of the level of pollution that's kind of staying there in the atmosphere. So I just wanted to get everybody to understand that this is what's going on, and ICBC follows the calculation. So alhamdulillah, we don't have to wait until the last minute, but we are very confident that even though we are going to be doing Eid tomorrow, that we're not going to be just doing it improperly. We cannot give 100% guarantee for anything in life, but the closest that could be given, I could tell you that somebody is going to sight the moon tonight. Okay, in our area it's very cloudy, but I've reached out to other friends and I can pretty much guarantee you that we will hear reports that somebody somewhere not too far from us is going to sight the moon, and inshallah tomorrow is going to be Eid, even for those people who don't follow calculations. Now, the weirdest thing to me is when somebody sees that, for example, Saudi Arabia has announced that it is impossible for the moon to be sighted there. So they have declared the Eid is going to be on Saturday, right? What really boggles my mind is when a masjid in America at Zohar time says tomorrow will not be Eid, when it is not even your Maghrib yet. And it might be possible that after you announce, at Maghrib time, you look up and you see the moon, right? So, just wait at least until your Maghrib. And that is understandable, but we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us all proper understanding. Now, I'm sharing this with you that you might hear grumblings of people. So, inshallah, you can educate them a little bit as well. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, so he's mentioning that there's a website called moonsighting.com that shows you a graph. It shows you this area, moon can be visible with your naked eye. This area, the moon can be visible with an optical aid. And by the way, the scholars do not accept moon sighting by optical aid. So if you had to use a telescope, that's not an acceptable sighting. So the calculation method says that when the moon will be visible by naked eye, that's when we will consider it to be the moon. Okay? Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.